Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot. It's the weekend of June 10th, and I've got a lot of stuff going on this week in wrestling. I'm going to start off with New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion show, which took place early this morning, Chicago time. A lot of big news coming out of there. First and foremost, Kenny Omega taking on Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It's the fourth match in the series between these two. I didn't actually get to watch the match myself, but by all accounts, it was a great match. 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit. Apparently, the match went a little over an hour total, with Kenny Omega winning 2 falls to 1 and coming away with the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship for the first time in his career. Also had Chris Jericho taking on Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. And Jericho actually won, so he is the new IWGP Intercontinental Champion, which makes him a record 10-time Intercontinental Champion between WWE and New Japan. Also, some other big news coming out of here. The Young Bucks took on Evil and Sonata for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, which they won for the first time in their career. They're also current holders of the Never Openweight 6-man Tag Team Championship with Hangman Page. So the Bullet Club is basically ruling Japan right now. Have to wonder what this is, what kind of effect this is going to have on the All In show. Is Omega still going to be the IWGP champion at that time? If so, you're going to see the IWGP champion, the Ring of Honor champion, and the NWA champion all on the same show. That's if Cody is able to come away with the Ring of Honor championship at the end of the month, I should say. But should definitely be an interesting show with all the developments going on. Also, during the Dominion show, the Bullet Club members Cody, Hangman Page, and Marty Scurll took on Jushin Thunder Liger, Tanahashi, and Rey Mysterio Jr. in a 6-man match. Bullet Club did win that match and apparently attacked Tanahashi after the bell, or attacked Liger after the bell. So seems to be building a bit of a storyline there. Again, have to wonder what this means for All In. Obviously, Cody's going to be there. Rey Mysterio is going to be there. I'm sure Paige and Marty Scurll are going to be there. So, and a lot of implications for the All In show coming up in September. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, I've got my tickets already. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be posting stuff on Facebook Live or Snapchat, possibly both. Who knows? But it's definitely looking very interesting, starting to take shape a little bit. They're kind of planting seeds of what's going to be going on. Also announced during the Dominion show, Don Callis, who is the English announcer for New Japan, as well as Vice President of Impact Wrestling. It was announced that he's going to be at All In, so it'll be interesting to see in what capacity he's going to be there. Is he going to be an announcer, which could point towards the show being broadcast in some way or another, or is he going to be there as the VP of Impact? Is Impact going to have a presence at All In? We already know New Japan and Ring of Honor do. A lot of different indie promotions do, with some of the people that are already scheduled to appear. It's looking like the only wrestling company that doesn't have a presence at All In is the WWE, which I'm sure is probably by design, but sounds like it's going to be, I mean, if it didn't sound like a fantastic show already, it's sounding even better now. So that's what's going on kind of on the indie circuit. Some other things happening this week. CM Punk and Colt Cabana won their court case. Of course, they were being sued by the WWE doctor for some comments that Punk made on Colt Cabana's podcast after he left the WWE, basically accusing the doctor of malpractice and things of that nature. So, of course, the doctor sued Cabana and Punk for just over $4 million, apparently, but the jury found in favor of Punk and Cabana. So congratulations to them. I know Punk has his next UFC fight coming up tonight here in Chicago. And, definitely good luck to him. I know a lot of hardcore MMA fans kind of crap on Punk. They still view him as a pro wrestler, which obviously is what he's known for. That's how he made his name. He was the top guy in WWE for quite a while. So, of course, they don't take him very seriously. But, I wish him nothing but the best. I'm kind of iffy on some of the comments he's made in interviews the last few days, but that's how he feels. It's how he feels. I mean, can't can't fault the guy for kind of being sour on WWE the way that his career ended there, and it just seems to have carried over into the pro wrestling business in general, rather than just the WWE, unfortunately. Of course, he has made the comments he'll never go back to pro wrestling. He says he's done. Also says, nobody's made him an offer yet. And so he's kind of giving mixed signals. He's saying one thing to wrestling journalists, he's saying another thing to MMA journalists. So, but as of right now, Punk is done. He's not a wrestler anymore. He's an MMA fighter. So best of luck to CM Punk in his fight tonight against Mike Jackson. And on to some WWE news. Interesting interview with Shawn Michaels earlier this week, who actually, for the first time since he retired, has said he's open to having one more match, which kind of sent a lot of people in the internet wrestling community into a frenzy, wanting to see like dream matches with AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan, or one interesting name that came up that Shawn Michaels said himself was Johnny Gargano. I think that'd be a fantastic match. Two of them are obviously fantastic in the ring. I think they could build a good story, especially with Shawn Michaels working at the Performance Center now, working for NXT. I'm sure there could be kind of a student-teacher thing going on there, or something along those lines. But pretty much any match Shawn Michaels has is going to be an awesome match. I've never seen a bad Shawn Michaels match, so be interesting to see how that one kind of plays out. This week on SmackDown, kind of surprising in the women's division, Becky Lynch, who hasn't had a whole lot going on lately storyline wise. She's just kind of had matches. She's been in the ring, but hasn't been part of anything major as far as storylines go. Actually got a victory over Charlotte, which I think at this point would be considered a pretty big upset, because even though Becky was the initial SmackDown Women's Champion, they haven't done much with her since then. She's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle of the women's division, unfortunately, because Becky is a phenomenal in-ring performer. So it was kind of cool to see her get a win over the top female in the company in Charlotte Flair. So have to see how that one plays out going into Money in the Bank, because they are both part of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Another interesting tidbit going back to some indie stuff, or actually some Impact stuff, was announced that Impact Wrestling has now gotten on board, no pun intended, with the Chris Jericho cruise. Of course, I think it was last week or week before, Sami Callihan kind of called out Chris Jericho in a promo on, I believe it was on Twitter. And then a few days later is when they announced Impact was going to be part of the Jericho cruise, which really isn't a big surprise. Chris Jericho and Don Callis are very close, have been for, I want to say, like 20 plus years. So kind of interested to see how that plays out, because I know they're having a Ring of Honor tournament actually on the cruise with Ring of Honor wrestlers. So I'm curious to see who from Impact is actually going to show up. Speaking of Impact, of course, the new Impact champion is Austin Aries, the belt collector, and when he did pick up the Impact World title, he unified it with the Impact Grand Championship, which I'm kind of glad to see. The Grand Championship was a cool concept for a little while, but it just kind of, I think people lost interest in it very quickly, the whole round system and point system and things like that. I just think it didn't catch on the way that they hoped it would. Like I said, I thought it was kind of a cool concept. It was different. The belt left a little to be desired. It wasn't my favorite belt that I've ever seen, but so it's a single championship now. It's the part of the Impact World Championship, which is how Austin Aries took from Pentagon Jr. The episode that was broadcast this past Thursday. Speaking of Pentagon Jr., he and Ray Phoenix, his brother, won the MLW World Tag Team Championships this week. So good to see that, though. They are definitely two of my favorite luchadors. First time I saw either of them was on Lucha Underground. I don't get a chance to see AAA too much, but I am familiar with a lot of the wrestlers there, especially some of the older wrestlers like Conan, Rey Mysterio, guys like that, obviously, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera, some of the, older luchadors that were big in the 90s and early 2000s. But, so it's pretty cool to see the two of them take that World Tag Team title. And back to some WWE news going on. It was announced this week that, not announced, but it's kind of a rumor going around online, WWE is going to be looking to move SummerSlam away from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where they've had it the last few years, and start moving it to stadiums, kind of like WrestleMania, which is cool. I mean, have another big stadium show. SummerSlam's always been considered the second biggest show of the year. So have to wonder, is it going to be a whole big weekend thing, kind of along the same lines as WrestleMania? Are they going to have the fan access events and meet and greets and all that kind of stuff? I know they do like a smaller version of that for SummerSlam now as it is. So I'm wondering if they're just looking to make it bigger, almost on the same scale as a WrestleMania. And by the same token, are they going to do the same for their quote-unquote Big Four for all four of the events? WrestleMania and SummerSlam are going to be held in arenas. How far behind is Royal Rumble and Survivor Series? Again, I think it's a cool idea to have their four big shows like that. Or actually, no, I wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't do all four. I would leave it those two, SummerSlam and WrestleMania. And I still think it'd be a really good idea to cut down the number of pay-per-views. You know, if you want to build interest and anticipation for these huge shows that you want to put on every year, don't have so many big shows in between. Is just my feeling. I mean, obviously, I'm still going to watch them all. I'm still a fan. I'm still going to follow pretty much everything that they're doing. But you know, it's just my idea. Cut down on the number of pay-per-views in order to build interest and anticipation for the huge shows that you want to put on 2, 3, 4, however many times a year. Another interesting rumor floating around online is that Brock Lesnar is pretty much going to be dropping the Universal Championship at SummerSlam this year, and as of right now, all signs are pointing to his opponent being Roman Reigns, which I don't think is a surprise to anybody. Still not really clear on exactly what the details of Brock's current contract are. He obviously signed an extension right before WrestleMania, which is what allowed him to retain the title at that time. So I've seen reports that say, oh, it's very limited dates, it's short term. I've seen other reports saying he signed a 2-year extension, so nobody seems to really know. But the rumor right now is he will be dropping the Universal title to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam in August. Of course, that's still a couple months away. A lot of things can change in that time, so kind of take that with a grain of salt. One more piece of WWE news I want to talk about is the push that Elias is getting currently. I would definitely say I'm an Elias fan. I like the character. I like the storylines he's been involved in. He's not being forced, and that's a big thing that a lot of people seem to complain about is when wrestlers get forced down your throat. His push seems to be a little bit more natural, more organic, and he's turning into one of those heels, kind of like The Miz, where he can, the crowd will cheer him, they'll, say his catchphrases and things like that, but then he'll turn it right around on them and say something, make some kind of snide remark about the town or something like that, and they'll just, boo him out of the building. And that, to me, that's the sign of a great modern heel. Is the fans like him, they like the personality, they'll cheer for him, say their catchphrases, but then they can turn on the fans on a dime and have them just booing them nonstop and wanting them to just get the crap beat out of them. So definitely liking the direction that Elias is going. He's got a title match coming up at Money in the Bank next weekend against Seth Rollins. Would not surprise me at all to see him come away with the Intercontinental Championship. It'd be his first title run on the main roster. I definitely think he could pull it off, kind of, again, along the same lines as The Miz. So that's one match I'm definitely going to be watching. I mean, Elias is great on the mic. He's great in the ring. So I think he'd make a great heel Intercontinental Champion. And somebody could probably have a pretty good long run with that title if they just, let him do it. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. So the big thing I wanted to talk about on the show today is something that's missing from pro wrestling these days, and not just in WWE, but also Impact and pretty much anywhere, really. You don't hear a lot about it anymore, and that is time limits. Used to be back in the day, ring announcers introducing the participants in a match, and of course, first thing they always say, this match is scheduled for one fall. And it used to be one fall with a 30-minute time limit, 20-minute time limit, 60-minute time limit, whatever it might be. It doesn't happen anymore, except apparently in New Japan, because Omega and Okada have gone to time limit draws recently. But it's not commonplace anymore, and I think it's something that's missing, and I think it's something that is needed. It's just kind of, I mean, obviously the matches are predetermined. They know how long they're going to go. They know who's going to win, things like that. But the time limit draw, I think, is a tool that really could be utilized to further storylines, and also give wrestlers opportunities to just put on some phenomenal matches. I mean, look at the, back in the day, in the 80s, even back to the 70s, the number of time limit draws you had, especially in championship matches, because these were back in the days when the NWA champion would travel around to the different territories and face the top guy in each territory. A lot of times it would go to a time limit draw just so that the top guy in the territory could still look strong without anybody having to take a pinfall and without having to put the championship on somebody that the NWA board didn't want it on. So, I mean, this is something that Ric Flair did on a daily basis for years, having time limit draws with people like Dusty Rhodes and Jerry Lawler and Ricky Steamboat and, pretty much all over the place. Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico. And, that was a huge thing back in the territory days, just to, like I said, so that the territory's top guy continued to look strong, and kind of got the fans behind him, saying, "Oh man, if there was just a couple more minutes, he could have beat the world champion." And I think that's something that can definitely translate to today. The last big era I can remember taking advantage of time limits was when WCW had their television championship, which of course evolved from the NWA television championship. It was typically, most of the matches were a 10 to 15 minute time limit, and more often than not they ended in a time limit draw. And if there was a clean victor, it was typically during a title change. So I just think it's something, like I said, it can be used to further storylines, like say the Seth and Elias story that's going on right now. Let the match at Money in the Bank go to a 20-minute time limit draw or a 30-minute time limit draw. Let these guys go out there and steal the show for a half an hour and not resolve anything. It's like, oh, they fought to a 20-minute draw. Well, okay, the next match is going to be no time limit or 2 out of 3 falls, or this kind of goes back to the show when I was talking about making things special again. Use the time limit to further the storyline, to push it to the next level of match, whether that's a no DQ match and or a street fight, or no time limit, or 2 out of 3 falls, or whatever it might be. It's just something that doesn't get used anymore, and this has been talked about on other podcasts and wrestling shows. I've heard JR talk about it, and I've heard it on Busted Open Radio with Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca. It's like I said, it's something that it's a lost art. It's the time limit draw, and I'm hoping that maybe that's something we'll see it all in. Maybe all these matches will have 20-minute time limits, 15-minute time limits. Maybe we'll see a couple of time limit draws. Not every match has to have a clean finish. Not every match has to have someone go over in order to get over, so to speak. And this is just it's just my 2 cents. I know, like I said, I've heard quite a few other people talking about it, and I think it's, like I said, it's a lost art. It's something that's missing from today's product. You talk to younger wrestling fans, they probably wouldn't have any clue what a time limit is unless they're really, into old school wrestling. And, it's something I'd like to see come back at some point on a regular basis. So, I think that's about it. Like I said, CM Punk's fight is tonight. Money in the Bank is next week. I'll definitely be covering that more in depth on next week's show, going through the card, kind of giving my predictions or who I want to see win. And I think it's shaping up to be a pretty good show. The ladder matches, I think, are going to be very entertaining. I'm curious to see the women's match because there was a couple unexpected entries in that one. At least they were unexpected to me, like Lana, for example. But it's good to see WWE giving her a shot because I think she did pretty good in the ring a couple of times she's been in there, and obviously she hasn't had much experience in the ring, so that's why she's maybe not as crisp and clean in the ring as some of the other female performers in WWE. But that's something that comes with experience. That's something that comes with being in the ring. So hopefully they'll give her some more opportunities in the ring because I do think she's got some talent when it comes to the ring, and it needs to be polished. It needs practice. The only way to get that is to get in that ring and have matches. So hopefully they start giving her some more because I think she seems to work really hard training, and I think she's definitely deserving of at least an opportunity. What she does with that opportunity is yet to be seen. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to some of the other matches on the card too. Like I said, the Intercontinental Championship match, I think that's going to be that definitely could steal the show. Also, the next match for AJ and Nakamura, the last man standing match, that's another one that could steal the show if these guys are allowed to go out there and just go, which I think that's why a lot of people were disappointed in their WrestleMania match, because it wasn't that culmination of a feud that I think a lot of people were looking for. It was just the beginning of it. That's they used that as a jumping point for Nakamura to turn heel and kind of start their real rivalry. They didn't build much of a rivalry leading into WrestleMania. It was babyface versus babyface. They're showing each other respect and things like that. And then WrestleMania was kind of the launching pad for the rivalry that's been going on since then. So I think this will probably be the match that a lot of people were hoping to see at WrestleMania. But we'll see how that one plays out as well. So that's about all I got for this week. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show. Hope you guys have been telling your friends and everybody about it. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that kind of stuff. Catch, Hook, and Shoot. And if anybody has any questions, comments, things like that, please feel free to leave them on any of those pages, or if you want to email, shoot me an email with any kind of show ideas, again, questions, comments, anything you'd like to see or hear me talk about. It's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. That's all one word. And I will be back next week with my preview of Money in the Bank. Until then, hope everybody has a good week, and I will talk to you soon.